I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. We are continuing in Helaman. Nephi, he just revealed the murder of the chief judge, been preaching to the people in the north, came down and revealed the murder of the chief judge. Some people accept him, but most people still reject him. He is given the sealing power by God, because after that ordeal, God knows that he will not do anything against the will of God. And then he is taken by the Spirit, kind of transported one congregation after another until he is preached to all the Nephites. Most of them reject him, and they start to devolve into a civil war. They're turning on each other now. So, we pick this up in chapter 11. It's a little bit long, I'm going to divide it. This first video will be the first 19 verses. Nephi persuades the Lord to replace their war with a famine. Many people perish. They repent, and Nephi importunes the Lord for rain. Nephi and Lehi receive many revelations. The Gadianton robbers entrench themselves in the land. And now it came to pass in the 72nd year of the reign of the judges, that the contentions did increase, insomuch that there were wars throughout all the land among all the people of Nephi. And it was this secret band of robbers who did carry on this work of destruction and wickedness, and this war did last all that year. And in the 73rd year it did also last, and it came to pass that in this year Nephi did cry unto the Lord, saying, O Lord, do not suffer that this people shall be destroyed by the sword. But, O Lord, rather let there be a famine in the land, to stir them up in remembrance of the Lord their God, and perhaps they will repent and turn unto thee. And so it was done, according to the words of Nephi, and there was a great famine upon the land among all the people of Nephi. And thus in the 74th year the famine did continue. And the work of destruction did cease by the sword, but became sore by famine. And this work of destruction did continue in the 75th year. For the earth was smitten that it was dry, and did not yield forth grain in the season of grain. And the whole earth was smitten, even among the Lamanites as well as among the Nephites, so that they were smitten that they did perish by thousands in the more wicked parts of the land. And it came to pass that the people saw that they were about to perish by famine, and they began to remember the Lord their God, and they began to remember the words of Nephi. And the people began to plead with their chief judges and their leaders, that they would say unto Nephi, Behold, we know that thou art a man of God, and therefore cry unto the Lord our God, that he turn away from us this famine, lest all the words of which thou hast spoken concerning our destruction be fulfilled. And it came to pass that the judges did say unto Nephi according to the words which had been desired. And it came to pass that when Nephi saw that the people had repented, and did humble themselves in sackcloth, he cried again unto the Lord, saying, O Lord, behold, this people repenteth. And they have swept away the band of Gadianton from amongst them, insomuch that they have become extinct, and they have concealed their secret plans in the earth. Now, O Lord, because of this their humility, wilt thou turn away thine anger, and let thine anger be appeased in the destruction of those wicked men whom thou hast already destroyed. O Lord, wilt thou turn away thine anger, yea, thy fierce anger, and cause that this famine may cease in this land? O Lord, wilt thou hearken unto me, and cause that it may be done according to my words, and send forth rain upon the face of the earth, that she may bring forth her fruit and her grain in the season of grain. O Lord, thou didst hearken unto my words when I said, Let there be famine, that the pestilence of the sword might cease. And I know that thou wilt, even at this time, hearken unto my words, for thou saidst that, If this people repent, I will spare them. Yea, O Lord, and thou seest that they have repented because of the famine, and the pestilence and destruction which has come unto them. And now, O Lord, wilt thou turn away thine anger, and try again if they will serve thee. And if so, O Lord, thou canst bless them according to thy words which thou hast said. And it came to pass that in the 76th year the Lord did turn away his anger from the people, and caused that rain should fall upon the earth, insomuch that it did bring forth her fruit in the season of her fruit. And it came to pass that it did bring forth her grain in the season of her grain. And behold, the people did rejoice and glorify God, and the whole face of the land was filled with rejoicing. And they did no more seek to destroy Nephi, but they did esteem him as a great prophet, and a man of God, having great power and authority given unto him from God. And behold, Lehi his brother was not a whit behind him as to things pertaining to righteousness. That's where we leave it. So, I like this. This shows us a couple of things about... First of all, Nephi is given the power to do what he wants. This is when he calls for a famine. Yes, God's going to send the famine. But notice how this works. It's not that Nephi just declares there's going to be a famine. I mean, the drought and famine here lasts... It starts in the 73rd year and ends in the 76th year. So, 3 years, almost as long as Elijah, when he called down the famine, there shall not be rain nor dew in the land except according to my word. But Elijah just came and declared this. Nephi, we are told, he prays about it. He says, God, send the famine instead. Now what is this? God said, you will not ask anything contrary to my will. That doesn't mean that Nephi only does what God tells him to do. But this tells us two things. That first, when God said Nephi wouldn't ask anything contrary to his will, it's not that Nephi doesn't have his own ideas. It's not that Nephi is paralyzed until God tells him what to do. It's that Nephi and God are understanding one another so well that Nephi, when he comes up with an idea, first of all, it's not going to be something that God disapproves of. He's not going to be thinking of things that God wouldn't want. But also that he's not actually going to do anything until he runs it by God first. That's what Nephi's doing here. So I got an idea, God, the war is not working. Let's try a famine instead. And God says, okay, let's try it. He takes Nephi's suggestion. It's not against his will. It's something that he can do. And so there you go. And so they do it, and it works. But why does it work? It's not just that people are suffering so they all repent. It says thousands in the more wicked parts die. Now this would indicate to me, see, the more wicked parts are those who aren't going to be prepared. The righteous, they are industrious. They grow their grain. They store some away for a future day. So when the famine hits, like Joseph in Egypt, they've got the grain to sustain them for a while. The wicked don't. So they either have to go out and steal, plunder, or they starve to death. And we read here that thousands of them in the more wicked parts of the country are dying from the famine. So after all the wicked die, all the really evil people, the rest do repent, and they come back and they come to Nephi and say, look, we understand we did wrong. Could we get this fixed? And I love Nephi's prayer there. They've repented. Let's see if they'll stay following you. You listened to me before. Listen to me now. End the famine, and we'll see if they continue to follow you. We'll test them. God ends the famine. And the people rejoiced, the whole land. Remember, this famine wasn't just among the Nephites. It was everywhere. Even though the Gadianton robbers were primarily in the north among the Nephites, and that's where most of the war would have been, if it was just a famine in the north with the Nephites, they would just ship grain in from the Lamanites. It had to cover both areas. But the Lamanites were the more righteous people. They would have been prepared for such a situation. They probably lasted longer before the grain ran out, before their stores ran out. Remember, this was a 3-year famine. So this is why we need the food storage. This is why we need our emergency preparedness. It's not because of the second coming. I mean, the second coming is coming, of course. We're preparing for that. But once Zion rises and once Christ comes back, we don't need that anymore. We're going to be in great prosperity. This is an emergency fund for such an event as a 3-year famine where the food supply dies out and we have to support ourselves. Anyways, leave that here and we'll finish this chapter in the next video.